Good morning. It is 27 degrees right here in the nation's capital, mostly sunny and toasty. The Hamatan, I hope, is here fully. Good morning again, and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Kayla Megwan. Of course, I'm not alone. Hi, Ayo. Good morning.
Hello, Kayla. Good morning. I'm Ayo Makinde. It's good to know, actually, that the dose of sunshine is a little more generous this morning than in previous days. And to also find out that it's 27 degrees in Abuja and 27 degrees in Lagos. I don't know whether we should be celebrating, rolling out the drums, or just calling it what it is. Anyway, today is November 5, and Kayla, as you know, so many things are happening, and we have quite a list of issues to raise this morning. But let's begin with one that's been recurrent for a little while, particularly around the Oroshoke axis of Lagos. While on the one hand, the Lagos State government is having a back and forth with the people in the community, the Lagos State Police Command has had to step in. You remember some weeks ago, the people of Oroshoke practically blocked the third mainland bridge. And they said, look, we need the attention of government. I've still been disturbed about how come you have at least 10 representatives and you still have to do some of these things yourself. Anyway, that's on the one hand. But now, as at yesterday, the State Police Command has had to step in and say, look, there are some things that should not happen, and consequently try to forestall a repeat of what happened those weeks back when the major highway was blocked. And that's why we have in the house this morning to have a conversation with us the Commissioner of Police in Lagos State, Mr. Olorundare Jimo. He is here with us in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, and good morning to you. Good morning, Nigerians.
What exactly happened? First of all, let's speak to the one that's trending. Two accusations. Number one, you declared Mr. Sowore wanted. And number two, he alleges that the reason you declared him wanted is because you were unable to execute the kill or shoot at sight order given by the IGP. How do you plead?
Thank you so much. I think that is a great misinformation to the general public and to Nigerian at large, which no organization will take lightly. The Inspector General of Police of the Nigerian Police Force will never give such an order, and he has never given such an order. For what reason will he give an order against anybody throughout the country? And that is where people will know that Sowore, in all ramifications, is planning, and he has put some of those plans in practice to cause mayhem across Lagos. And that is why I go all out to declare him wanted, because it's clear in the Constitution. I have the constitutional power. The Commissioner of Police is mentioned in the Constitution under Section 215, subsection 1B, and equally on 4 and 5. They have the responsibility to maintain and secure public safety and public order within the state as may be deemed necessary. When somebody like Sowore is marching on the 8th of September 2025, thousands of people on the Tomiland Bridge. Tomiland Bridge is very critical to this country. Tomiland Bridge, billions of dollars were invested to construct Tomiland Bridge and even to maintain it. And there are quite a number of people that are medical concerned, that are traveling out, that have a lot of things to do. And they call out people on the 8th of September to block the Tomiland Bridge. And I have no any other option than to go there and disperse them with smoke using minimum force. Because it's also for anybody to verify that bridges are designed to carry moving weight, not a stationary weight. So what he has done is so terrible to the livelihood of Lagosians, which I will not allow it to happen. So by him going and say the IGP has declared that it should be shoot aside, that is a big misinformation and mischievous for which is known with. And I want to underscore the fact that I have the right to declare wanted based on my right in the Constitution. Any other person, I want you to let me finish this bit. Any other person that said I don't have such a right should go to court. But for me to ensure public safety and public security and the protection of life and property of Lagosian in Lagos State, for which I'm charged with that responsibility, I have the right to do everything possible within the ambit of the law to sustain this. And that is why I promptly declare wanted. I don't just declare wanted. When he posted something on his ex-handle, and it's there for people to verify that I have just taken a bar in Abuja, and the next point is Lagos to block the Tomiland Bridge. And we well well prepared. We cordon off the entire area of Beggar Bus Stop in Sowore, where is designated to come and conduct this violent protest. And we ensure that we make alternative arrangement for people to use. And I equally go on here to apologize to citizens and people of Lagos that may want to use that park at that point in time, so that when they come and we're engaging, we don't have collateral damage on innocent Lagosians. So that's what we did. And subsequently, we patrol the entire of Lagos State. And we deploy everywhere that he might want to come up and cause mayhem. And when he said this, he called it make a post. And he was advancing to where we call the car wash car park within Oworisoki, where he has gathered about 300 violent protesters to march towards us. So I charged him my men, and 13 of them were arrested. And we quickly recovered a vehicle loaded with a loud speaker with a generator that I want to come and use to broad it on a land bridge. So I have the right under the Constitution to prevent crime from being occurred, to prevent anybody that want to take laws into their hand, to come mayhem across the country. So the IGP, I say with any doubt, has not given such an order. And he has not given it not only to me, to virtually all the police institutions across the country. What are we going to do with that? So that is mischievous and is equally investigatable. And we are going to investigate everything that surrounds with this attempt to cause problem in Lagos.
Mr. Jim, one question I would like to, first of all, there is no doubt that you have a lot on your hands. When 200 million people, I don't even know how many police officers you have to use to get that done. That's probably talk for another time. But I'm just wondering why you think there was a need to declare him wanted. Is it so difficult to find him wherever he is?
Yes, he has gone into hiding because I warned before time that he shouldn't come to Lagos to come and cause mayhem. Because the terminal is so vital to Nigerian economy and so vital to the well-being of virtually all Nigerians. Because that is the bridge that connects the Lagos mainland to the island. And quite a lot of multinational, the huge investment of government are there. I'm answering your question. Yeah. So now, when he now issued the threat that is coming, he went into hiding. And when he went into hiding, and at the time I declared him wanted, was in the course of operation after we have recovered the vehicle that I want to use to come out.
Just to be clear, Mr. you said did you say he's not supposed to come to Lagos at all?
No, I am not saying every Nigerian can go everywhere in this country. But when you have the intention, and that intention has been put into practice to come and cause mayhem, of course, I told him that he shouldn't come to Lagos to cause mayhem. I didn't say he doesn't have the right to come into Lagos. Okay. And as at the time he made the post that when he was released from prison custody, having been charged in Abuja duly, and he make a post that the next point is coming is Lagos. But on intelligence we gather, he diverted to Ondo State to go and do whatsoever effect. And that is why we believe he has mobilized thugs and hoodlums to come and attack Lagos.
Now, it is also a constitutional right or duty of the police, if I can put it that way, to ensure that people who go out to protest, they also have some kind of police cordon. Is that correct? Are you aware that they plan to protest and there were policemen deployed for that protection?
If you are going to protest, you bring it to the notice of the police so that we make adequate protection for the protester if it is peaceful, to ensure that hoodlums and miscreants don't hijack the protest. But when someone like Sowore, who is a vagabond, and who is a miscreant, is an hoodlum, and is a fugitive as we speak, will call out all different shades of people, including miscreant and hoodlum, to come out. How will I allow that to happen in Lagos? And not to any other point in Lagos, to the Tomiland Bridge. There's no any commission.
Mr. Jim, those are very strong words. You called him a miscreant, a hoodlum, and all those things. But do you also know that he also just left the police custody in Abuja?
Yeah.
Why then would the police release a hoodlum?
Yes,
people?
He was taken to court, and the courts have the discretion to take appropriate steps in any matter taken before them. And what I'm saying is that coming to Lagos to express this, I'm not commissioner of police for Abuja. I'm commissioner of police for Lagos. And nobody can threaten the Tomiland Bridge. It cannot take place. Whether protest is peaceful or it's not peaceful, nobody should contemplate any form of protest at the Terminal Bridge, because you can start even if it is peaceful, Ulom can take over and cause assertion. On the 8th of, like I said earlier on the 8th of September 2025, they did this, and a lot of people were subjected to untold hardship. Some people fainted in their vehicles, and that is no more protest. That is mayhem. That is causing confusion, and we cannot afford the repeat of that. So if he has anything to do, he has all means to get his grievances across the government, but not to come and cause problem in Lagos. Was there a notice, an official notice given to the Lagos State Police Command that there is going to be a protest at Uwonshoki? None. Okay. Absolutely. Is it required under the law that the police has to, you know, the protesters have to notify the police? No, thank you so much. Like I said earlier on, I have the responsibility in maintaining and securing public safety and public order within the state, as given to me under the Constitution, Section 215, subsection 1B, 4 and 5. So it's very explicit. So any act by any individual that can cause disturbance of public peace, that can subject thousands of Lagosians who are passing through the Terminal Bridge on a daily basis to untold hardship, to injury, to even death, I have the responsibility to protect. The question I'm asking is, so now when you talk about seeking police protection, it is important that you should seek police protection, because even yesterday some group of students who protested based on the need to sustain the subsidy regime did it peacefully from the toll gate to Ganifami Park, where they are confined to, and we protected them. Okay, so what next, Mr. Jimo? The next thing is that my declaration that Sowore is wanted is still in force. But he has also put out a notice requesting, you know, where you want us to work. Yes, he put out a notice a day before. His lawyer contacted me through a text message. One barrister, Stanley Harrison, Esquire, at around 15:56 hours on Monday. And he sent me a message that he tried to reach me on call while I was involved quelling riot. You can't definitely get me on call. But I saw the message and I forwarded the message to the OC Lega of the Nigerian Police Force to get in touch with him. And they agreed that Sowore is going to turn up at the CID, because that is where the investigation is being carried out. Because the normal practice in investigation is that you conclude your investigation before you even go for arrest. So the CID is where? Yes, Panti. Okay. In CID. Okay. That is where he's expected to report. But throughout yesterday, he has failed to report. And we are going to do everything within the ambit of the law to get him arrested, investigated, and prosecuted for all these offenses. What we have not even been able to touch on, Mr. Jimo, is the substantive issue of what's happening to the people of Uwonshoki, where that's probably, you know, out of your own authority, but that is the reason why this whole conversation started. Maybe some other time we might be able to speak to that. Thank you so much. But before you call me up, if you allow me, during his interview, and it's very good I responded to it, he said the Commissioner of Police is not competent. I'm very competent. I've been here for more than 9 months. And even in court, where the accused person show his good conduct, the prosecution sector persons to have the right to show his bad conduct. I want to make it abundantly clear that Sowore doesn't have NYC certificate because of punitive reason. He was posted to Adamawa and he was evasive. He never did the service. So such kind of person that doesn't even is qualified to bear the NYC certificate of a great country, Nigeria, will now be calling out miscreants to come and disturb the peace of Lagos. We will not allow it. So my pronouncement that is declared wanted still stand, and it should report at DCCID Panti for further investigation. I think you already even answered that question of whether or not you're competent. If you has issues with it, you should go to court. That's what you said earlier. Yeah. Right. Okay. Commissioner of Police in Lagos State, Mr. Olorundare Jimo, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you for having me. We wish you all the best, and thank you for the good work. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Nigerians. So another conversation happening to forestall such other occurrences. The whole idea is peace. This time is in Anambra State, about the Anambra governorship election. Kayla. Indeed, that is where we're switching gears to.
A very interesting conversation you had there with Mr. Jimon. We're watching to see how all of that unfolds. But we are moving now to Anambra State, where the November 8th elections are in focus. Everyone is getting ready for this election. And a peace accord has been signed. And let me give you an idea of the figures that we're looking at. 2,802,790 registered voters are expected to turn out for these elections. Personnel, 24,000. The polling units, 5,718. And the ward collation centers, 326. 21 local government collation centers. 45,000 police officers have been deployed for this particular election. And 10,250 people from civil defense. So it's a massive election, one that we hope will go peacefully. And joining us for the conversations on the peace accord that has been signed by all the stakeholders. Everyone who's going to be a part of this election signed that peace accord. We are joined this morning by Reverend Father Atabra Kindo from the Kuka Center. He's the executive director of the Kuka Center, who are the ones who are spearheading this peace accord. I want to thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so let's go straight to it. The peace accord. Do you think it will stand, considering all the factors that we're looking at in the Southeast? We heard the police state categorically that if IPOB or ESN, any of those networks come out or try to disrupt the elections, that, I want to quote them perfectly, that they'll be met with overwhelming law enforcement response. Is this something that worries you when this peace accord is signed?
Absolutely not. If you compare the Anambra of today to that of 2021, I think 2021 was really very tense. You know, there was a lot of anxiety. And IPOB then was very active compared to now. And at that time, they issued the sit at home not only on a Monday, literally as we move towards the elections. IPOB issued statements asking Anambra people not at all to come out to vote. And I think the voting only happened after we signed. I mean, they lifted that order after we signed the peace accord, just a few days, to the election. But if you compare it to now, I think it appears to be much more peaceful. The environment is serene.
There was no threats from IPOB
Absolutely.
or ESN, nothing
That
like
is
that.
why even the signing of the peace accord was done on a Monday. We did it on a Monday, a day that normally is declared as sit at home. People are moving around, peacefully around Anambra, doing their own businesses. So I think what has happened is that Monday has just become an extended weekend, in my opinion. Otherwise, things really are looking very good for the elections.
That's a very, enthusiastic way to take a look at it. Another issue people have with these elections is voter apathy. The Southeast, and no offense, but has had a track record of low turnouts in elections, whether they're state elections or federal elections. Do you think we're going to have to deal with voter apathy in this election?
I think it's not just voter apathy, it's apathy towards the government. People have made promises, particularly politicians over the years. Those promises have not impacted on the lives of people. And I think people are now asking, is it even necessary to go out to vote? And if at all I should vote, should I actually trade my vote for some money that I can get immediately? But for us at the Kuka Center and at the National Peace Committee, we have been in Anambra since May, engaging communities, conducting context analysis, having meetings with traditional rulers, with political parties, with civil society organizations, with religious leaders and traditional rulers. And we have been calling on people to really come out and vote and to exercise, their right to vote. But, you can't constantly call on people and walk away, leaving them in the same social and economic condition. So we call on the politicians to ensure that the lives of people improve through this democratic process. And I think that is the only thing that can encourage people to come out and vote. When people know that their votes are counted and that their votes will make an impact on the type of leader they want, I think you don't need to beg and preach. People will naturally troop out to come and vote. But when people know that election after election, there's absolutely no change in their lives. In fact, if anything, everything gets worse. I mean, there's nothing else you can tell people.
You've been in Anambra since May.
Yes.
So these engagements with the people have been going on, according to you.
Has been going on.
Give me a sense, or give all of us a sense, of the mood that you're getting there. Do you see people who are interested in the electoral process? Do you see people who are hoping that money is being shared on election day? Are these people who are interested in a free and fair exercise and looking forward to voting and exercising their franchise. Is that something that you see from the conversations that you've been having with them?
I think for these opinions, you have to disaggregate that, depending really on who you are talking to. So if you talk to ordinary people, drivers, people who use motorcycle, people, they are just like, you know what, nothing will change. Our votes may not count. If you talk to members of political parties, depending on which political party is in power, they are excited, they are enthusiastic, they are looking forward really to the elections, and they feel their party will win. If you speak to executives of political parties, for example, they're a little bit worried about security that will be deployed, particularly during the elections. And some of their opinion is, we want the federal security agencies to be the ones to monitor the election, which is constitutional. But we don't want informal security networks and vigilantes to come near, you know, the type of election security.
So let's talk about that, because that is a major concern that the other political parties in Anambra State have had. With the deployments, I didn't see any Agunechemba in the deployments that I'm looking at here, at least from what the INEC chairman was talking about, and none of that was mentioned. Do you think that these elections and Agunechemba should take the back seat? Has that commitment come from the governor that his security network would not be a part of this exercise?
I think you have to put this within context. There's something happening in this country that people really need to pay attention to. Because of the trust deficit in federal security institutions, even by government officials, particularly by governors, what has happened is that state legislators in the state houses of assembly are beginning to pass laws establishing their own state security networks, which some people talk about eventual, you know, state police that may happen. And it is in that aspect, you know. So people are worried that it's very easy for politicians to manipulate, to deploy this as against particularly the Electoral Act or the Constitution. So it's the Constitution that mandates federal security agencies to monitor elections, to guide elections. And they really just want to have that. And I think during the signing of the peace accord, the police commissioner made that very, very clear at the federal level. No informal security network, state, you know, security network will be allowed to come near. And I think that looking at Anambra today and the body language of the governor, he seems to comply. And he made it very clear that he was so excited about the content of the accord, because every clause of the accord has been linked to a particular constitutional provision. And the issue of security was very, very clear. And everybody seemed to be happy. And that's why 15 of the political parties turned out to sign the accord.
That's a lot of faith in the process. Another issue that people have had with this election is vote buying. And it's not really native to Anambra State. It's a national problem that we're dealing with. I heard Governor Soludo during one of the rallies, he actually said, if they give you money, eat it, but vote for me. You know, which means that there is talk about, you know, money being shared and vote buying and things like that going on. Is that something that the Kuka Center and, of course, the National Peace Committee think about? Is it something that can even be handled?
We don't even conceptually, we don't call it vote buying. We prefer to call it vote trading. Because it's not just the buyer, it's the seller.
The seller.
The seller
is also complicit.
Yeah, but of course, buying and selling is going on almost in every institution, really, in this country. And I think for me, we shouldn't reduce it just to election. It's a wider societal problem. And it also speaks to our value system, you know, the necessity for us to comply seriously with the law. Look at the social and economic conditions of people. And the sort of poverty and the level of dispossession. And I'm not excusing that. But if we want to deal with the issue of vote buying, then I think that we have to respond to our social contract, particularly the politicians, to see how they can improve the lives of people.
It's going to be difficult considering the economic situation that we have in this country. And of course, the question of state might. Of course, we have an incumbent in this election. Governor Soludo is contesting. Do you perceive from the engagements and from his body language, which is something that you've been talking about, the fact that we're going to actually see an election in Anambra State where it is a free and fair election, where everybody had a say, you can vote for whoever you want to vote for, and then you're not seeing a situation where the incumbent is overpowering everyone because he has a war chest with which he can do so?
I think, yes. From what I've seen in Anambra, particularly during the signing of the peace accord, the promises made by the police and also the promises made by our brand new INEC chairman, you know, it appears that there's going to be no imposition. They have all insisted the law will be followed.
They're promising.
They're promising, absolutely.
But you see, that's the thing. I have to take your word for it, don't I? If someone says, "Oh, I'm going to be good," I have to believe the person. It's bringing up the conversation as to incumbents maybe stepping away and being like a candidate, like everybody else.
Of course, during the signing of the peace accord, we didn't give him like a special place. You are the governor of the state. He sat with other candidates.
I'm just saying, like, you know, before this peace accord and whatnot, you know, the conversation as to whether an incumbent can actually keep his word and say, well, I'll be free and fair, and somebody else is going to be.
I don't think it's for me to say that. If I say that, it's counterfactual. It hasn't happened yet. The elections has not held. So I don't have an evidence to tell you that, okay, he won't keep to his promise, right, until actually the elections are over. And that is why my team is currently in Anambra State to monitor, particularly compliance with the accord. And if after the announcement of the results, things really go bad and the political parties, not just the governor, don't comply, then we have the strategic recommendation that we are going to make to the members of the National Peace Committee and also share with the police and INEC. And that is why the INEC chairman and the police, Inspector General of Police, were all witnesses. And they signed as witnesses because constitutionally, they are the ones empowered by law to deal with some of the violations that will happen.
Has there ever been a time when an election held and after they signed the peace accord, some people broke the peace accord and the Kuka Center or the peace committee did a report and said, look, this person is culpable in this and this and this, and then actual sanctions are put on that person because of that behavior?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example.
Yes.
In September 2022, ahead of the 2023 general elections at the national level, normally there are two peace accords. The first one is to commit the politicians to issue-based campaigns and not personal insults. And the second one to accept the outcome of the results of the elections. So in September 2022, when we signed the very first peace accord to commit politicians, you know, to issue-based campaigns, from their own spokesperson of the party and the candidates, a sort of insults and personal attacks. And we recorded all that, and we called the candidates and the executives of the party for a meeting. And we told them, look, this is what is going on. And what you're actually doing is to incite the people so that eventually when election results are announced, you know, it can easily lead to violence and widespread and massive violence. So we have to sit with them and we handed over some of this information to the police and INEC. And they were also invited for the meeting. And let me make this clear, because the peace committee itself does not have the constitutional power to prosecute. We are only lending our moral voice and moral support to a credible process of elections.
Understood. Thank you so much for being with us, Reverend Father Atabra Kindo, Executive Director of the Kuka Center. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for the work that you've done. We're watching how you roll out the Anambra elections.
I guess you are from Anambra State.
I don't know. No,
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, well, we're switching gears to another conversation, and this one is our dedicated conversation on this Christian genocide talk that has been going on. And Ayo will be leading us on that one. Ayo, we've got Prof in the studio, don't we?
Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, there is that conversation about the warning given by the President of the United States, Donald Trump, to the Nigerian government concerning this alleged, or rather claims of genocide. Now, what is giving people concern is not the entire issue, but particularly the use of the word genocide, which has international implications. We'll delve into that and a number of other issues this morning with Professor Akin Oyebode, who is a professor of international law and jurisprudence. He joins us in the studio. Thanks for joining us this morning.
You're most welcome.
It's been too long, Prof. We haven't had you in the studio. Hope you'll be well.
Well, I'm retired. I retired 8 years ago.
We refuse to allow you to be tired.
And why I have shunned TV appearances was because my son, my first son, was Commissioner for Finance in Ekiti State, and I did not want to steal his thunder.
Well, as I told you the other time, you both walk on parallel lines you could never meet. Now, let's get into this conversation. Following the claims of the U.S. president in particular, because not only did he make it as president of the United States, he also made it on his personal, platforms as well. Since that, Canada has responded its support for the position of the U.S. president, but China has stood firmly against. At least a legislator in Canada has made that allusion. But the Chinese government has come up to affirm their stance with Nigeria. In your opinion, what exactly is happening in this whole mix?
Well, it's complicated, and it could be considered simple. Complicated in the sense that Trump wants to address his base, his supporters, especially the evangelicals, the Christian lobby in America. So he wants to appease them to say he's the great white father who can protect Christians all over the world. Well, I don't know how he wants to relate to his support for Netanyahu, who is not a Christian, who is Jewish. But you know, his daughter is married to a Jewish guy, and they both went to the Middle East. So there's a lot of duplicity in the Trump agenda. Trump wants to be seen, as I said, as a crusader for Christianity. And, well, in the country called Nigeria, the Christians are not a minority, okay? Even though we have a Muslim leadership, president and vice president, that should not discount the nuisance value of Christians in Nigeria. I listened to the Chief of Defense Staff who said, look, Christians are not being persecuted in Nigeria. So anybody who suggests that Christians are being persecuted and that they require the intervention of America to save them needs to check his facts. So I'm saying that Trump just invented that crisis in order to appease his base and to be seen as a doer, a protector of Christians in the world's largest black nation. But what happened yesterday, I'm talking of the midterm elections, had prevented Trump from reaching out or holding himself out as the great white father who has a mission in Nigeria. For once, Trump maybe is regretting that he called us shithole countries. Shithole, you know, just like a lavatory. He's spoken despicably about Africans, not to talk of Nigeria. And we must be revising his notes now because of the elections in America. He's lost reckoning with Americans who regret now that he was elected president.
Well, one claim he has also made is that maybe the Republicans lost because he was not on the ballot.
Yeah, he's on the ballot, whether he wants to acknowledge it or not. The midterm elections in America usually is seen as a popularity test for the incumbent president. This time it's clear that people have voted against Trump. And definitely, if he continues along that trajectory, the Democrats will be warming up to replace him at the White House.
Okay. Now, so there are some other deeper issues, though, particularly about the claims that he has made. One word that's been given a good number of diplomats and legal practitioners concern is the use of the word genocide. Now, while it may seem or sound fallacious to the Christians, Nigerians who are on ground, there is this allusion, for instance, to the fact that at least in one church every month, about 1 million people gather every month to pray, and they're all Christians, and nothing happens to them. Maybe that discountenances that, but the word used by the U.S. president is the word genocide. How concerning? Is there a cause for concern in that allusion at all, or you think we should just go sleep easy, there's nothing that's going to happen?
Well, in international law, there is respect for the Genocide Convention of 1948, where genocide is defined as a deliberate extermination of certain people, either on the basis of their race, on the basis of their belief, religious belief, or some other peculiarity. If you single out people because of their characteristic, and you now want to annihilate them, you can be accused of genocide. You know, there's been a warrant for the arrest of Netanyahu for what they did in Gaza. I'm sure Trump will not want the Genocide Convention to be invoked against Netanyahu. So he can't be selective now. You're either pro or against genocide across the world. In Nigeria, I think, I don't know what motivated him to create a crisis that he wants to ride on. I still can't understand the motive. This is a man who has shown tremendous disrespect for Africa and for Africans. And for him now to be seen as a crusader who wants to come and liberate Christians in Nigeria, I think it's a non-issue. It's a phantom allegation. We have Christians and Muslims in many families, including mine. Okay? So I don't understand what Trump wants to achieve.
Okay. Well, there are those who also say that even the first family, they have Christian and Muslims in the country. The first family in the country, they have Christian and Muslim at the head of the nation. But, you know, before I go to Kayla, Prof, how should the federal government, the Nigerian government, particularly the office of the president, should be responding? Already there's been a statement put out, signed by the president, that that's not our reality. But there are those also calling for some kind of diplomatic intervention. What are the things you would propose?
Well, first things first. It's more than 2 years since ambassadors were recalled. Nigerian ambassadors abroad were recalled under this dispensation. And for more than 2 years, we've not had ambassadors or high commissioners for Commonwealth countries anywhere in the world. That is a deficit which the Bola Tinubu government has to address. If we had a Nigerian ambassador in Washington, he would have taken the heat for Nigeria. You don't have a permanent representative at the UN. You don't have a high commissioner at the Court of St. James's, that's London, not to talk of Moscow or Kiev in the Ukraine. We have an embassy in the Ukraine. But all these embassies without ambassadors does not speak well for a country that wants to play in the big leagues. Nigeria is not a penny country. We are not a small country that can be ignored. We have to make our presence felt. And I think it's a disservice to the stature and standing of Nigeria that we don't have ambassadors representing us. So we have to get that fact clear. Okay. The second thing, of course, is to engage the United States diplomatically. In other words, there are diplomatic channels existing to talk to the Americans. The European community is for Nigeria. I was listening to the European Union ambassador in Nigeria speak in defense of Nigeria, that there's nothing like genocide against Christians. We have a terrorism problem, but we don't have a genocide problem. Okay. So that fact, which I believe President Tinubu has declared to President Trump. But Trump has his own game plan. What we have to check is, what is his game plan? I don't know what the report of the NIA, I'm talking of the equivalent of our own CIA. And there are people who are paid to investigate things like what is happening in America.
You know, one of the things that a number of people have also said is the U.S. has all the intelligence. And just as you said, the question people are asking is, what's the game plan? I think Kayla also has some questions for you. Kayla, go ahead.
Indeed, Prof. I mean, I want to go back to something you said. You said he invented the crisis just so that he can speak to his base, or just so he can pump up his image as this great savior of Christians. What would be the end game for something like that? And noting also the words that he used to describe, I'm talking about President Trump now, the words that he used to describe the Nigerian people. What would be the end game, in your view, that he'll be looking at, calling us a disgraced country and things like that? That's one. And then secondly, I want you to be able to get your thoughts on this meeting, this proposed meeting between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and President Donald Trump. Should they meet, and what should they talk about, in your view?
Let me start with the second question. If you look at how Trump has been dealing with foreign leaders in the White House, so patronizing and so, in fact, humiliating. I saw the South African leader. I watched the proceedings in the White House, and I saw what even he did to Zelensky, the Ukrainian leader. Trump has this attitude, as I said, of treating other leaders as small boys. I don't think President Tinubu, who is American educated, who has a knowledge of America, will accept such condescending attitude by President Trump in the White House. President Tinubu says he calls himself a city guy. He didn't bluff about attending Chicago State University. He's lived in America. He's worked in America. So I believe he knows what to do. Our greatest lobby is the black community, the African American community. We have to explore the possibility of getting the black American community on our side, because Trump wants to humiliate Nigerians. He says we are not humiliated. On the contrary, we are on the ascendancy. Once we tidy up our act I think we make him regret the day he made such pernicious comments about this country. Now, as to what the game plan, the ultimate end plan of Trump will be, really, I'm intrigued because it was unprovoked. The allegation of Trump came from nowhere. I mean, what did we do to deserve such epithet? I believe he must be regretting what he said, but you don't speak to Nigeria as if you are talking to a Lilliputian state. Nigeria is a very important country. We have over 200 million Nigerians here. So I think, and we are the candidate that leads the black race. We are not just the world's largest black nation. Even in America, the Nigerian Americans, the Nigerians who have emigrated to America, they are more better educated than the majority of Americans in terms of the degrees they hold. You can remember that Biden had Nigerians on his cabinet, well-educated Nigerians on his cabinet. I'm not sure Donald Trump has a black face on his cabinet. You know, so I have problems with the presidency of Donald Trump. The fact that they started by first revoking the visa of the only Nobel laureate that we have produced should tell us something, that they have some unfinished business with Nigeria. Wole Soyinka is not somebody that you just dismiss or ignore. He can speak for himself. But I'm saying what the Americans did to Wole Soyinka was a signal to the rest of us that we don't matter. You know, that black, African or Nigerian lives don't really matter in his own reckoning. And so I think, yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so on that point, because I don't want us to lose that, when you bring up these issues, of course, it brings to mind the concept that many people believe that this is punitive in some way for some of the alliances that the Nigerian government has taken, aligning with the two-state solution, refusing refugees, that these could be some of the things that we are being singled out for by the Trump administration. But you know, get your thoughts on that, and also to talk about a genocide. Now, you've said categorically that there is no Christian genocide. We have a terrorism problem in this country. But have we, in many ways, looking at the insecurity in Nigeria, for many people it would be simplistic to make it just a religious situation. There are so many things going on here. Is it possible that governments over the years have turned a blind eye while people from different religions, from Christians and Muslims, have been killed over the years, so much so that it now feels so bitter that people feel like they're being singled out to be killed? Have we not handled it properly as the Nigerian government?
Well, the killings, especially in the Middle Belt area, are regrettable. But I must say that it's not only Christians that are falling victim of terrorism. One of our lecturers, a guy who did his NYSC with me, he was from Biu and had risen, I convinced him to stay in the university, Ekiti State University. And the Boko Haram killed him, even though he was a Muslim. And he left a gap, you know, in the sort of situation that we found ourselves. The wife also was working for us in the university. She even studied English in the university. And this young man had even built a house in Ado-Ekiti. And he was a very important personality among northerners in Ekiti. But he was just killed wantonly in, I think, Burma or somewhere. I can't remember where the thing happened. And it was a sad loss for us. You couldn't say because he was a Christian. From Biu, he's a Muslim. And so I must say that terrorism does not distinguish among Christians or Muslims. And I believe there's an effort to blackmail President Tinubu here that he and his deputy are both Muslims. But it has been shown that the fact that we have a Muslim presidency has not impacted badly on Nigeria. In terms of the friends that Bola Tinubu has been keeping, like the Brazilian president, Lula is a left-wing person who is a prominent member of the BRICS. And if Brazil and Nigeria are getting together, it's because of history. I mean, you go to a place like Bahia in Brazil, the Yoruba Brazilians, they are a notable group in Brazil. And in Nigeria, we have Brazilian Quarter. So what I mean to say here is that it's not a crime that we have committed by seeking new friends, either in Brazil or in China. China has a lot of investment in Nigeria. Although some look at what the EFCC did, more than 700 Yahoo Chinese were arrested with Nigerians. And the EFCC did a phenomenal job in cleansing the internet fraudsters that were training Nigerians in a high-rise in VI. So I'm saying that we have to pay the price of the friends that we keep. I'm not one to say that Christians have not suffered, because there is the allegation that some Fulani irredentists want to replace the people on the plateau, and that these Fulanis are not even Nigerians, that they came from outside Nigeria, claiming that the Fulani are entitled, so to speak, to colonize Nigeria. I think Nigeria is too big a country to be colonized by any ethnic group.
You know, one last thought, just about 30 seconds, Prof.
Yes.
There have been occasions where some Nigerians call on foreign nationals to come rescue them because of one thing, maybe one government or the other issue. It's not limited to this government. Previous governments have also suffered the same. In fact, Mr. Nyesom Wike said there was the same strategy used against President Jonathan. That act, how do we nip it in the bud? Because it will seem like the governments have not been able to buy the trust of the people. In 30 seconds, how do you think we can handle that?
Well, the present government is going to its third year. So it has not spent its tenure, its full tenure in Aso Rock. And I think this government has tried as much as possible to be inclusive in terms of the ministers. At least every state has a minister. And if you have inclusive governance, it will be difficult to separate us on the basis of ethnicity. Nobody chooses where he's born or his parents. These are not things that you determine. You are just born into a Muslim family or a Christian family, and we have to live together. Bola Tinubu, as far as I know, is not a bigot. He's not an Islamic bigot or a fundamentalist. His wife is a Christian pastor, or should I say pastoress. So I think Donald Trump this time has overreached himself. And
Well,
we should not play according to his playbook.
It's now up to us as Nigerians. I mean, that's what I hear you saying now, to hold our own ground on this particular matter. We have to thank you, because definitely we're bringing you back, whether on this or any other issue. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Professor Akin Oyebode is a professor of international law and jurisprudence. We truly appreciate your time and your thoughts this morning, Prof.
Thank you very much.
Now the ball is in your court. What are your thoughts? The conversation definitely continues. I'm Ayo Makinde. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Indeed, and I am Kayla Megwa. Have a great day ahead.